Papua New Guinea is located in the southwestern part of the Pacific Ocean, just below the equator. Its entirety is in the tropical region. It is approximately 160 miles north of Australia, and it comprises the eastern part of the island of Guinea.
The overall climate of Papua New Guinea consists of a tropical rainforest with an average temperature range of 73 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Seasons are determined by the amount of precipitation rather than temperature. The annual average amount of rainfall that the island receives is 2,500 to 3,000 millimeters.
Papua New Guinea experiences heavy rainfall during its wet season, which is December through March. During this time, typhoons and monsoons are common and can cause flooding and erosion.
The interior of Papua New Guinea is composed of rainforest and long mountain ranges. This constitutes the Central Highlands. North of the Central Highlands is a swampy plain that continues until the foot of more mountain ranges that lie along the coast. South of the Central Highlands is an intermixing of rainforest and swamps, with the exception of the southern point, which is grassland. Eastern and western Papua New Guinea are respectively rainforest.
The main region is covered in foothills, mountains, and broad, low valleys, where the people reside in secluded villages. Due to a lack of far-reaching roads, inhabitants mainly rely on remotely located airports for transportation.
Papua New Guinea has one of the most biodiverse populations of species on Earth. Although the island takes up only 0.5% of Earth's landmass, it encompasses 6 to 8% of the world's species. Due to its relative isolation, it has one of the highest percentages of endemic species, which are species that are found nowhere else on Earth. It ranks in the top 5 among countries in terms of its biodiversity. Many of these species, however, are critically endangered or under threat. One of the most ecologically important species that are under threat are the corals. This species is vital to the economy and are greatly underestimated in their importance to the local community. They provide essential habitats for the majority of marine life, which in turn provide food and a source of income for the local communities. They also provide ecosystem services by providing a natural barrier for storm surges and erosion of the seashore. Another variety of species that is currently critically endangered is the marsupials, such as the black-spotted cuscus and the lowland brush mouse. The main factor contributing to the loss of biodiversity is the loss of habitat, mostly resulting from deforestation due to logging and mining industries. Expanding populations are encroaching on the natural habitat of the species. Coral habitats are in great danger of disappearing. Conservation organizations are beginning to be established to help preserve the wildlife, one of these being Conservation International, which is based in the United States. This organization works with the local governments and residents to help establish refuges on the land and sea.
Mining has become a major supplier of income to many native people of Papua New Guinea. The possibility of money has inspired more and more people to move to mining towns despite the poor water conditions and sanitation. Mining in Papua New Guinea has continued to have a negative effect on both the land and the people. The arable farmland in many areas has now become solid rock, oftentimes stained red from mining runoff. Liquid tailings, also known as rock waste, have continued to contaminate soil and water. Some mining facilities, such as the large Oak Teddy copper mine, continue to run without any waste retention facilities. The result of this is that waste and copper runoff is poisoning waterways and killing vegetation. The people of Papua New Guinea, however, do not have information available to them to understand the danger of these poisoned waterways, so they continue to drink polluted water unaware of the effects on their health. Along with the people of the island, it is estimated that 2,000 square kilometers of forest have been affected by tailings poisoning, and there is a rapid decrease in fish. The environmental effects of mining in Papua New Guinea continue to be a complex problem because of the alternative viewpoints on the issue as well as the invested stakeholders. Some claim that mining is necessary because of the royalties and improved infrastructure it has brought to the island. In addition to this, companies from both China and Canada as well as Papua New Guinea's own government are large stakeholders in the mining industry. Because of the money being bought in, environmental issues are being ignored. The government and its people need to be made aware of the consequences of mining like this, and strict laws need to be put into place about waste collection and sustainable mining techniques.
As the expansion of area planted for palm oil occurs in Asian countries, deforestation increases. Higher levels of deforestation take place during this situation from the indication of the accelerated progression of a forest into a plantation. While all three countries experience this event, Papua New Guinea experiences deforestation to a lesser extent than Indonesia and Malaysia. This has led palm oil producers to view Papua New Guinea as a harvesting hotspot, increasing its production on a large scale in the past decade. The causes for Papua New Guinea's deforestation include timber commercialization, mining pollution, and drought. Habitat degradation that leads to a loss of biodiversity, modified climate, and the loss of water cycling are key impacts of the island's deforestation. Mammal and bird species of this region are at a high risk for extinction as the forests are susceptible to destruction. Choosing to incentivize plantation expansion in order to protect ecosystems by voluntary market interventions and government regulation can reduce the harmful consequences of deforestation. Another possible solution is to increase the expansion of designating protected areas and improving the management of those that currently exist.
Papua New Guinea has a serious problem. Over 5.5 million of their near 7 million people do not have access to power. Of the people that have the ability to use electricity, they place a heavy reliance on fossil fuels, with 60% of the country's energy coming from fossil fuels. Some people may say that their usage of non-sustainable sources should be lower and to bring in sustainable sources for power, such as solar. Unfortunately, large-scale solar farming is not an option at the moment. Disregarding the immense startup cost, the problem with solar energy, in the words of Anthony Maxwell, a senior energy specialist at the Asian Development Bank's Pacific Department, is that while solar energy is utilized in the area, the trouble with solar is that it's intermittent, so it can only bring about a small amount of power during the day. It's not baseload power. Baseload power is, simply put, energy that is always available. This is particularly important in Papua New Guinea, where it's not uncommon for power outages to strike multiple times a day. Besides for fossil fuels, nuclear energy can be another source of baseload power. One source of sustainable energy Papua New Guinea does rely on is hydroelectric energy, which accounts for roughly 30% of their energy total. Luckily, due to the highlands of the country, there is significant hydroelectric potential, which the country has plans to utilize in order to hopefully start waning away from using as much oil in the future.
In Papua New Guinea, a prominent environmental issue is agriculture expansion. In 2014, the agriculture industries experienced a 3.9% growth, reported by the PNG Treasury Department as oil, palm, cocoa, and copra demand escalated. In 1995, 70 to 80% of the population relied on village agriculture, a farming method through which farmers sold crop surpluses in local and international markets. Over time, the people of Papua New Guinea have become increasingly dependent on the fishing and agriculture industries for employment, foreign trade, and better quality of life through a growing national economy. Reduction rates. The unfortunate consequences of this includes the loss of biodiversity due to monocropping, over-tillage which degrades the highly fertile soil, and more crops being susceptible to frosts, as higher elevated areas become colonized and farming occurs in colder environments. To address this issue of agriculture expansion, agronomic techniques such as mounding, complete tillage, composting, legume revolutions, and more have become undertaken by farmers to save the high-quality soil. The Papua New Guinea government has also invested in the sustainable development of the agriculture sector, having aimed for moderate growth of 3.7% in 2016. Overall, the Papua New Guinea government, farmers, and foreign investors or affiliates will have to engineer better technologies to maintain the sustainability of the nation's natural resources while meeting the needs of its increasingly growing population.